Welcome to the Gems of Google Earth, a series where I uncover some of the most fascinating and oftentimes overlooked satellite images and the stories they tell. In this video, we're going to explore North America. First up on the list is White Sands National Park in New Mexico. When I first saw these images, I was shocked at how heavy it could snow in a place as hot and arid as New Mexico. These are actually sand dunes made up of crystal gypsum, which is made from calcium sulfite dihydrate. Now, all sand is made up of crystals, namely quartz, made from silicon dioxide. Gypsum, on the other hand, is partially composed of calcium, giving it a white appearance reflecting light. If you have ever done some home renovation using drywall and plaster, which tend to be white or a similar color, now you know why these sand dunes are white. This region was once cooler and lusher, but as the climate warmed, gypsum from the surrounding hills was deposited nearby and ended up resulting in these bodies of white sand dunes after the water dried up. Roanoke Island is next on the list. This was home to the first attempt the English made to colonize what is now the United States. It is named after the Native American tribe who were the members of the Algonquin language group. During the 1500s, a colony by the English was set up as the first colony of the New World by England. Given the fact that the English had advanced technology, the natives saw them as akin to supernatural entities. However, despite their technological advantages, their colony failed. They were heavily dependent on the nearby natives, given the distance from the supply chains of Mother England. Nonetheless, the first English child born in the New World came to existence by the name of Virginia Dare. When English sailors returned to the island, they found the settlement abandoned, with the words Croatan carved into a tree in reference to a friendly native tribe. We really don't know what happened afterwards, but most likely, the first interaction the Europeans had with the Native Americans in what is now the United States by the English didn't result in some sort of takeover of the natives by the English, but rather the other way around. Third on the list is the Eye of Quebec. It's a massive lake, and you guessed it, Quebec. It is a large lake with an island that looks kind of like a human eye. It also kind of looks like humans had built a moat around a circular fortress. Alas, this is not the product of man, but of Mother Nature. This was caused by an impact crater when a massive asteroid struck the Earth, causing an imperfect ring-like basin. This asteroid, while not being the largest, is still in the top 10 largest asteroid collisions known to science. The reason why the elevation rises in the middle is due to impact uplift. Let's move further south. Flores Pin, which I'm mispronouncing, is one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the Americas, located in the modern nation-state of Guatemala. A Mayan tribal group called the Itza had left their center of civilization in the Yucatan Peninsula to move south to this region on a small island. This proved to be a good idea, as the island provided a natural barrier and natural defense from other indigenous peoples, being one of the oldest surviving strongholds of Mayan culture. Even the Spanish conqueror, Hernando Cortez, didn't bother conquering it. It wasn't until the late 17th century when the Spanish finally took it over, as the natives settled in the nearby forest on the mainland. Mexico City is next on the list, but it's not really Mexico City, but rather a set of particular bodies of water around Mexico City that I'm interested in. Now, Mexico City was once a vast network of interconnected lakes and wetlands in the Valley of Mexico, dominated by 5 major lakes. Most of these lakes have been drained since the Spanish conquest to control flooding and by and large make way for urban expansion. However, a few lakes and ponds remain, either as remnants or as artificial reservations. The urban design of the original Aztec settlement had brilliant urban planning. However, the modern city of Mexico City has essentially been built on a dried up lake and is literally sinking due to the excess use of groundwater under the city. The last remnants of the lake that was natural at one point and was in many ways the defense of the Aztec Empire is now a series of small, oftentimes contaminated ponds with shapes that are clearly manipulated by humans and oftentimes used for river parties. Another fun fact is that these lakes are home to the axolotl, a salamander which retains its juvenile characteristics into adulthood. Unfortunately, they are functionally extinct in their natural habitat, but they thrive in scientific labs due to their regenerative abilities, along with their popularity in the pet trade. Next on the list is a little bit more depressing, Little St. James, which is a private island located in the US Virgin Isles, about 1.5 miles southeast of the St. Thomas Isle. It gained widespread notoriety due to its, let's just say, reputation with this guy you may or may not have heard of by the name of Jeffrey Epstein, who had owned the island since the late 90s until his, let's just say, quote-unquote unfortunate death in the late 2010s. Now, the island is in and of itself rather unremarkable. It's just a small private island with some nice beaches, some landscape gardens, a helipad, and I'm assuming a place that, let's just say, Chris Hansen would be interested in investigating. Let's move on. Mesa Verde is next on the list. Now, Mesa Verde is quite possibly one of the most underrated places in the United States. There is a misconception that the indigenous peoples of the Americas north of the Rio Grande in what is now the United States never produced complex urban societies, and that simply is not true, given the fact that Mesa Verde exists. Here we can see the Puebloan people, of whom I'm mispronouncing the name of, carving out a miniature city on the side of a flat-top mesa. Is quite remarkable given the fact that these people that were quite isolated from other indigenous people, including those of the Aztecs and Mayans in Mesoamerica, were able to produce such a complex society in a place that was so scarce when it came to water. Next on the list is also in the southwestern United States, a region that is disproportionate in this list, and that is Yucca Mountain, which is essentially a geographical formation in the Nevada desert, northwest of Las Vegas, and it is known for being the site where the United States stores its nuclear waste. On face value, the area doesn't look particularly interesting. It's just a sort of hill or mountain without much vegetation. But as we entered the nuclear age, this site would eventually be used to store much of the waste. After all, keep in mind that much of the Western United States is owned by not the state governments, but rather the federal government. And on top of that, Nevada has the highest proportion of federal land ownership in any of the 48 continental states. This has come to much anger of Nevada elites and politicians and even the people. But nonetheless, its remote location has proved to be a useful area for storing a whole bunch of stuff that could easily kill you. And given the fact that Nevada is really mostly desert outside of the casinos and desert brothels, I'd say it's probably the best location to store the stuff. Ninth on the list is in northern Alberta, Canada. This area is Fort McMurray. It's the oil tar sands. This area just kind of looks like Mordor from Lord of the Rings. It's known for its incredibly rich deposits of bitumen-rich soil, which is a key driver of Canada's hydrocarbon industry. Alberta is in many ways the wealthiest province of Canada, and this is by and large due to the very high amounts of hydrocarbon resources. However, unlike the hydrocarbon resources you get in, say, the Middle East, this oftentimes revolves around extracting oil from oil sands, which is a pretty environmentally destructive process, and has by and large resulted in a great deal of controversy as to whether or not the Canadian government should focus more on environmental preservation or on generating wealth, and continues to be a source of tension between elites in Ottawa and many people in Western Canada. Last on the list is the Darian Gap. It's a rugged area with no streets or roads, just dense rainforest, along with mountains and some wetlands. It's in southern Panama, nearby the border with Colombia. Now, if you ever look at this landmass, you'll notice that there's actually no road system that connects North America to South America. There's just this gap filled with pristine wilderness. And you might be wondering why that is the case. Well, the terrain is incredibly difficult to build on. The dense jungles with plenty of precipitation and high temperatures, as well as the mountains, make it very difficult to build infrastructure in. So as a result of this, much of the transportation between North and South America is done through planes or boats. After all, the Darian Gap is filled with jaguars, quicksand, and plenty of drug lords. So not exactly the sort of place you'd want to build a road through. And there you have it. Those are some of the gems of the North American continent. In my next video, I'm going to be covering some of the Google Earth gems of South America. So stay tuned.